Hey guys, it's Steve, back with part 3 of our forest creation tutorial series in Blender. Part 2, we created our branches and leaves and textures and got our tree set up looking pretty decent. Now in part 3, we're going to start expanding out and adding more and more trees. So without further ado, let's get into it. First, I want to bring my background image back in, so I'm just going to turn that back on so I can kind of see what it's like in the background there. Now I'm going to be adding more trees, and pretty much all those trees are just going to be duplicates of this tree. So it's kind of cheating, but it actually works out pretty well, and you don't even notice that they're duplicated. So first of all, duplicating them with all the leaves though is going to be kind of slow. So I'm going to turn off the leaves right there, the little eyeball, and now we can go ahead and duplicate it much quicker. So you can see that this tree is looking a little bit, what you could call it, straight across there. So I'm going to go ahead and I just noticed that, kind of pull these vertices out a little bit with proportional editing. Let me go to connected. There we go, and I can kind of just rotate them and give them a little bit of variation, just because some of these ended up a little straight. Not hard. There we go, and that's looking pretty good. So what I want to do is, let me just grab that whole branch there and kind of bend it out that way. There we go. Oh, that kind of curve is nice. Alright, so what I want to do is duplicate this whole massive tree. Okay, and I'll be using it back here, but I'll be basically rotating it at an angle and moving branches so it doesn't look like it's the same tree at all. And I'll be using it back here where this one is. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate it kind of towards myself. It's towards the front of my scene, like so. And already it looks a bit different at that angle. And you're seeing branches that you don't see from back here. I'm going to hit Z so I can kind of line it up better. There we go, something like that. And okay. So now I might just grab some of these branches and kind of move them their own way, just so you don't notice any similarities too much between the two of them. Pull this branch up a little higher there. Awesome. Alright, and already that looks much different, in my opinion, from this angle. I'm going to kind of pull these roots up a little bit too, so not quite so far down in the ground. Alright, so now that we got that tree kind of in place, I can go ahead and kind of mold to the ground to it like I did earlier to show those roots off a little bit better. So to do that, I'm just going to go to sculpt mode again on my ground here, sculpt mode, hit T to bring up my toolbar, and let's start sculpting. So I'm going to use my sculpt draw, pull this down and enable dynamic topology. Turn off mirror if it's on, just because we don't need it, and let's go to town. So I'm going to hold down control and kind of cut the ground back a little bit around this tree so I see those roots real good. Then I'll add a little bit of dirt underneath it here where I need to kind of prop it up, like it's on a little hill or something. And then cut back a little bit more of that. And that's looking pretty nice. Might have to cut back some in here too. Let's just check it from camera view. It's not looking too bad. Add a little bit of dirt underneath it to kind of prop it up a little bit. But it's looking pretty nice actually. Maybe just take a little bit more out of here so we can see a little bit better out back there. So now I'm going to be moving on to adding more trees and then texturing the ground. So I kind of want to finish up the way this ground is going to be. It's okay to be a little bumpy, but this is a little too hilly for my liking. I'm just kind of smoothing it out a little bit. You don't want too many hills, but you also don't want it to be too flat. So I'll find a middle ground and just kind of naturally mold the ground to however you think a forest floor should look. Something like that is okay. Some little hills and stuff is always kind of cool. But if you ever get too much bumps, just hit S and kind of smooth them out with your smooth tool. Alright, so that's looking not too bad. I can go back to object mode, and I'm going to add in a few more trees. So to do this, I'm going to just grab basically trees off of this that I've already created. If I hit L, it will select the whole tree there. And I can basically use this tree rotated around by itself now a few times, and people won't even, I mean, you won't notice it's different. So it works well to basically create one big tree and then just use a whole bunch of duplicates at different angles to give the illusion of a lot of different trees. So I'm going to go ahead and go Shift D and then hit P, separate by selection. If I tab now, you'll see I can grab that tree on its own and move it. So I'm going to go ahead and move this back here. And let's put it over to the side here. Oh, I just realized that my screencast keys aren't going on there, so let me quick turn that on. All I have to do is run this script. There we go, and then turn that right back on. Okay, we'll maybe make the text a little bit bigger for you guys to see that, but that should do it. Alright, so now we can kind of rotate this tree around and find an angle that we like to have it in the background there. Go to camera view. Alright, I think more of the bigger trees should be over in this area, kind of looking at my reference image here. I'm going to kind of rotate it around at an angle that I like. Something like that isn't too bad. And kind of place it back there. And there's one tree. And this will already have leaves on it. You can turn the view on and you can see it has all those leaves. Now some of these will have too many leaves because there's less branches, but it's still a lot of leaves. So what we want to do for those is click this little button on the particle settings, so it's its own setting, and then just take the number of leaves down to about 150, and there you go. You can always come back and actually add in some weight paint too. If you want to bring the branches down a little bit, do some of that, and you got another tree there. This one looks a little weird because there's not quite enough branches, but that's okay. Let's just continue duplicating trees out there. So I'll grab this one this time, go Shift D, and then P, separate by selection, tab out edit mode, grab it, and move it out there. This one I'll kind of go this direction with, maybe rotate around the Z a little bit then, like so, pull it down, and get another kind of crazy tree back there. Alright, it's not looking too bad. Pull it back a little further maybe. And then again, maybe this one should have the particle settings of the fewer leaves. Okay, so go to rendered view, and you can see we got another tree back there. The leaves are turned off, but that's because I want them turned off. Awesome. And then we can do what we did before again, weight paint, kind of paint it down the branch a little bit just to give a little bit more leaves. Great. So I'm going to do that a few times here, just grabbing trees, doing the same process, Shift D, P, separate by selection, grab that new tree, move it in the background there, kind of give it a different angle, maybe a different scale a little bit, and filling out my forest, kind of placing these trees in the background for the ones you don't see back there, and then giving them its own particle setting. There we go, the fewer leaf particle settings. Okay, that's not bad back there. So you can kind of see how I used just one massive tree to create a whole bunch of smaller trees. So I can go ahead and I think there's one more here that I haven't duplicated yet. So just do that, Shift D it, P, separate by selection, pull that one out on its own. Alright, that's not bad. And then I can just duplicate these separate trees on their own and not have to change any settings. That one can kind of go right there. Alright, cool. So now I'm just going to kind of add these trees around and about. This one looks kind of good over there. Kind of like the way it actually fits back there. So do that. And maybe I'll grab one of these. Grab that one back there. Shift T, P, separate by selection. This one's going to be very similar to one that I've already got out there, but that's okay. Rotate that around the Z, and then shoot her way back there. Pull it down along the corner there, maybe, and then give it the particle system of the fewer leaves. Maybe scale it down a little bit too. So that is how you create your forest. It works pretty well. nobody really notices that they're duplicated as long as you're kind of rotating them and putting them at different angles. And you can have a lot of control now over how they look in the background there, which is important. Kind of giving the, maybe this one can be a little bit smaller. Rotate it on the Z. Kind of giving it a lot of control, like I said, over how you want the trees arranged at different angles. So maybe just one more back there. I'll grab this one again. Actually, I haven't done this one yet. Grab this one here. Shift D, P, separate by selection. Maybe I did do this one. I can't remember anymore. But this one is the one that's the most detail. So pull that one back there. It's okay if they're kind of going off the plane at this point, because you can't even you can't see the trunks by this point back there. Stick the one that back there. Maybe I'll put this one over here as well. Rotate it around the Z at a different angle and scale it down a bit. Cool. And then, yeah, give her the fewer particles. So what does that look like in rendered view? Obviously, we don't have all of our leaves rendering right now, but you can kind of see the angle and how they're lining up, and that looks very good, actually. I'm happy with the arrangement there. I'll probably want a few more small trees back here, but besides that, I'm pretty happy with it. Scale that one down, rotate her a bit. Alright, that's looking okay. And then I'll add maybe this tree here over there as well. Well, that looks a lot like the one next to it. I'll just rotate it. Scale it down. Okay, and then pull it back a little further. Place it back there. Awesome. So that should be enough for now, I think. We got a pretty nice forest there. Maybe a few more back here would be necessary. Just to kind of... Whoops, I don't want to do that. I'm sorry. There we go. Just duplicate this one. Scale it down a little bit. Rotate it around the Z. Kind of at that angle is good. Just kind of fill out back there a little bit more as well. Which tree is that I just duplicated? Let me see. Grab that one. I just need to pull that one back a little further, I think. Alright. That should do it. So with that being done, you can do some more sculpting on the ground if you wanted to match it up with some of these back there, which I might do just a little bit real quick. But I think I'm ready to... Oh, I got a smooth set here. Back to my sculpt draw brush. There we go. I think I'm ready to texture the ground, because I'm pretty satisfied with the way everything's looking. You could come in and give the ground some nice fine details if you wanted. Let me see here. Sculptura. Alright, enable the dynamic topology. You can kind of come in and give the ground some nice details where you need it by turning the dynamic topology up. So you might want to do some of this before you texture paint if you feel it's necessary. It all depends on how close your trees are and how much you'll be seeing. This is something that could be a little time consuming though, so I can't put too much time on this. But I'm just kind of doing it around the roots, where your eye might be attracted to it and notice it more. And also, I think I'll have some more of the ground actually exposed over here, so that's another reason why it's kind of good to pile it up now around the roots. And it looks good. Just remember, if you zoom out and click, it will kind of remove some of the detail, as it's using the view port basically as how much detail to add. So keep that in mind. Alright, that's looking pretty good. This might need to be smoothed out a little bit here. Just hit S. Kind of smooth that over. Alright. Let's call it good. So, with that done, let's get to texture painting. I'll quick save my project. And to texture paint, I'm going to have to create a UV map of our ground here. It's going to have to be pretty large quality. So I think I did like a 4K for my my final render, So I'll do that again. I'll just grab that all, unwrap. It'll take a little bit of time depending on how much detail you put in there. So let that do its magic. And then let's split our window. Pull it over. Let me get out of edit mode now. There we go. Split our window. And go to UV image editor. And let's tab back in edit mode, see what that looks like. That should work. Alright. So now it's time to get into the texture painting. Now back here you can see that the ground looks, pretty nasty. Maybe I should have done a little bit more detail back here. Turn back, enable dynamic topology. Yeah, it says it will ruin your UV map. So we'll have to quick fix that. But back here, maybe I should add just a little bit more detail. Most of this isn't really seen, but just a little bit more might be nice. So just kind of run around adding some like slight hills and holes and whatnot. Just that might be enough as it is. There we go. Doesn't look too bad. Just some small hills. Maybe smooth those out a little bit. Alright, that'll be fine. So now I'll go ahead and unwrap it again. Unwrap. And now we're going to be doing some texture painting. So you use about 3 or 4 different textures and do some sweet texture painting on the ground to basically paint on some leaves and dirt and whatnot. So to do that, I'm going to switch to my texture paint mode. You see it's pink right now. And I just want to hit T to bring up my toolbar. And I need to add a paint slot. Diffuse color. Like I said, I did about 4K. So I'll do 4096 on X and Y. 4096. And I'll just leave the name as diffuse. Black should be fine. And I'll go OK. So now I got a black texture there. I can close off my UV editor there now. And to get a little faster performance, I'm going to turn off the view on all these trees. Now, actually, something that I just learned, and I think will work for this as well, if I select all those trees, hold Alt, and click the little icon, it'll turn all of them off on all of the trees. So hold Alt as you hit that with all of them selected, and it'll do it all at once. So huge time saver there. There's an awesome little trick I just learned on Twitter. So you learn something new every day. All right, so with that done, let me go ahead and start texture painting. So under texture paint, I need to open up a few textures. So I'll go texture here, and then I'll click new. And then over here, if I go to my texture settings, I can change it from image texture to brush texture. Here's that new texture I just created. I need to open up the texture I'll be using. And here I have, like I said, 4 or 5 different leaf textures and dirt textures that you'll find in the comments, links to them. But basically, for the distant trees, I just kind of paint the leaves on the ground with texture paint. So open up that texture, and if you just start using it right off the bat, you'll see you're getting a nice gradient brush, and it's putting the leaves around where you want them. So go ahead and start painting. Depending on how far you zoom in, you'll have a different size leaf. So you want to find what the right size leaf is and then kind of stay at that view distance. But right around there is pretty good. And I'm just going to kind of paint leaves around the trees. Easy. We're just kind of painting fall onto our scene. And this will save on particles because up closer by the trees we'll need to use particles. But back here you don't even notice if they're particles or not. So you might as well just paint them on. So go ahead and paint them, and you can make it a little random and whatnot. And you don't have to cover everything with this texture because we'll be using multiple textures. So do a bit of painting, and then after that we'll have to paint up here as well. So basically you just don't want any black showing through. So kind of give yourself a nice whole flat covering up in front here of nice leaves. It gets a little slower where we have more detail there in the dynamic topology areas. But just kind of paint it in, and that's fine. If I go to camera view, just to kind of see the size, they're a little bit big. Maybe paint them in a little bit smaller in most areas here. Alright. But not too bad. That looks a little nicer. Okay, so now we need another texture, because we can't do it all with the same texture. So I'm going to go ahead and click that little plus icon there. You can see over here we get another blank texture, and you just open it up. Grab the texture you want. This one is kind of some leaves mixed with some greenery, and this is a nice complementary texture to go with this texture. So you just open that one up now, and you can start painting in some of the green. So this is for kind of filling in the in-between spots where you don't want so many leaves, but and you want a little bit of green showing up. So go ahead and continue painting with this texture, filling in the gaps. All right, not looking bad. Just kind of filling in the areas where we didn't get it before. So this is kind of fun. It's basically texturing in real time over your render. So pretty fun and pretty easy to use a lot of different textures all at once. So just continue painting all around there. Just don't really want any black showing up. Alright, that's not too bad. Okay, around there, a little bit in there. Alright, so that's looking pretty nice. Oh, missed a little area over here. So just finish that up. And we can move on to the next texture. So the next texture is a dirt texture. Dirt texture is going to be used up around the trees and in little ponds or puddles that we might have. So go ahead and hit that plus again, open up another texture, and this one will be kind of this dead grass texture. This one will work well up around the trees here. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit, make my brush a little bigger, and kind of start putting some dirt in around the base of the trees. You don't need too many leaves up here because it's more like exposed dirt. Alright, so go to camera view and you can kind of see that's not looking too bad. Give it a little higher quality. Alright, and then you kind of want to go back and paint some of this in areas. Maybe a little area here that might be like a little mud hole or a little lower spot so the leaves aren't so bright. A little around that tree. Kind of fill in that area a little bit with some of it. And just kind of go random, you know? It's nature. It's not looking too bad. You just want to show up a few spots. Maybe in this low spot here I can have a little bit more of a dirt as well. Alright. That's not too bad. And I'll open up another texture. Do the same thing. This one is going to be, let me see, a little bit more of a dry dirt. And then you kind of want to mix this in with your other dirt. This kind of blends a little bit better with the leaves, so maybe use this as an in-between stage a little bit. And just kind of paint it in. It's not looking too bad. A little variation. And if you want to kind of change the colors of these textures, you can just go to colors here, take the brightness down a little bit, and then you'll be painting a little darker. Take it up a little bit, you'll be painting a little brighter. So that's helpful for kind of changing the colors, making them match a little bit more, whatnot. Alright, not too bad. Maybe just a little bit more dirt over here. Alright. Okay, now I think I might have one more texture. It doesn't really matter, you don't need this many. Just depends on how much detail you want to do. So I haven't used this one yet. This is kind of the dead leaves. This one would be kind of good around here. So a little bit of dead leaves in that puddle there. Okay, maybe just a little bit around the tree. Who knows? Okay, a little bit in there, a little bit in there, a little bit in there. Now this doesn't really match, so I might take the saturation up a little bit, contrast up a little bit, just to make it match these textures a little bit more. Maybe the brightness down a little bit. Alright. Now it kind of matches a little better. So I can paint in these areas a little bit more now. Make it a little darker in the center. Cool. And it's looking not bad. Pretty happy with that. Okay. And that should just about do it, I think. Maybe add a little mud hole in there. Just so not everything looks so perfect. A little mud hole like along there, maybe. A little stream, maybe that would be there, causing some dirt. Alright, so that's pretty good. I might add just a little bit more of my green texture. So grab that green texture there now. And add a little bit of that around here. Cool. Just because it's a little bit too much leaves or no trees around in here, maybe. Alright, that looks not bad. So there's your texture map. With that painted, you can pull out your view over here, open up your UV image editor, and then grab that material, that's material diffuse color right there, and you'll want to save this. So go image, save as image, and save it to your desktop. Alright, with that done, let's save our blend file so nothing crashes on us, and we're good to go. So I can go ahead and add that material to our ground real quick. I'll go 3D view, go back to object view, switch this to our node editor. Alright, let's close off that, open this up. We're always just close that off with N. And let's do what I did before, where we go Alt or Control T. I don't have that add-on on, do I? Nope, I need to turn that back on. So user preferences, add-ons, grab that node Wrangler add-on. There we go. And then I'm also going to turn on the planes add-on, because I'll be needing that, as well as the sampling add-on. There we go. Enable all those add-ons, and we're good to go. So now I can go Control T, and it'll add in my texture mapping nodes there for me. And I'll just grab that material diffuse color. Actually, let's just go to the desktop there and grab it. Cool. So I go rendered now, and we should see that showing up on the ground. Very good. So you can see our scenes coming together nicely. Now, one last thing that I need to do to finish up this part of the tutorial is I think I'll open up the environment lighting HDR that I'll be using. So it's not really an HDR. This is an image that you can get, I believe it's off CG Textures, but again, I'll give you a link in the description. But I'm just going to go to my world settings, choose background, choose image texture. There we go, right there, and open. This would be my textures folder, CG skies. This is just a free sample that they've given away, but it worked well for the lighting in this scene. And if I go to my world materials here, this will be where my world nodes are for my sky. So I'm just going to go to a blank layer here so I can see what it looks like on its own. And it's looking kind of plain. Alright, I had it set to image texture here. You just want to change that to environment texture and then open up your image there, the skies, and you have the sky showing up nice in the background. So I kind of want to bring the sunlight over to the corner here a little bit more, like I have it in my final render. So I'm going to go ahead and add that mapping node over here by going Control T, because I have that node Wrangler set up. And now I can just turn the rotation along with Z to kind of pull the sun over to the right angle there. Awesome. Alright, that's good. And then maybe pull it down a little bit. So that would be the rotation along the X. Let's pull it down a little bit there. So we get some clouds. Awesome, that should be good. And the last thing to do is, if you want to set this up to actually be giving more accurate lighting, this is something that I learned from Andrew Price, is you can add in a few nodes here. Just a math node, so vector math node. This one will be set to add 1. We'll just plug the color into that. And I'll duplicate this and drop another one in there. This would be multiply by 0.5. I don't know why these values are the way they are. I guess it's just mathematically the right values. So multiply by 0.5, add by 1, and and then drop in the strength. It just kind of intensifies the strength and gives it more of a correct lighting. So that's all you got to do. And then if I jump back to my scene here, we'll have environment lighting. You don't really have to worry about the black because we have the ground already for the lighting. So it's just basically the sky lighting. And you can see that it brightens up our textures a little bit. And it's looking pretty good. So that is the ground and the trees. Next part, we'll be creating some more randomized trees to put in the background to kind of fill that in. Maybe adding some assets and almost finishing the modeling of the scene. So I want to quick see what this is looking like with the leaves on. So I'm going to go ahead, grab all these leaves, or all these trees, go to my particle settings on one of them. Let me just grab one here, and then Alt, click that on. Boom, it turns all my leaves on. Save my blend file real quick, because Blender might move a little slow once you have all the leaves visible. And then let's see what it's looking like when I go to rendered view. Should be looking something like that, which is pretty decent. The one thing I'd say is maybe I don't have quite enough leaves over in this area, but besides that, I'm pretty satisfied with the way they're looking. So awesome. I can quick turn off all my leaves again by doing what I did again. Just turn them off this time. And maybe I'll just add in another tree or two back here. So no problem at all. Easy to add a few trees. Maybe just affect the distances a little bit here. Pull this one back a little further. Back in there. Now one other thing that you might want to do is grab a tree like this, pull it in a bit closer here, and it doesn't even have to be in the scene, but as long as it's next to the scene here, it will be adding some nice shadows onto our ground. So I'm going to do that just to kind of add in some shadows, maybe a few branches coming into the scene as well there. But something like that will bring in some more shadows from that side, because there would obviously be some trees over there. If I turn on the leaves, you can see you get some shadows on the ground, some leaves up in the sky, and nobody sees that the trunk is floating. So that works pretty well. Maybe I'll scale it up a little bit. And there you go. So that's a bit better and making some good progress. Hope you guys are having fun creating a forest along with me in Blender. And that'll do it for part 3. So I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.